Tiffany sent in this sculpture, and in the first video, I made a mold of it. Now, in this episode, we're going to cast it 3 separate ways. We're going to make a rotocast in resin, we're going to make a solid cast in resin, and because Tiffany is a candle maker, we're also going to cast it in wax. And by the way, check out her work here, and there's a link in the description below. So let's get on with this and see if we can't have fun messing around with this mold. Okay, I got this mixed up, and as you can see, I am wearing gloves. And the reason I'm wearing gloves is I know that I'm very likely to get resin on my hands here. Before we do anything else, we're going to pre-paint all of this hair. And that way, we won't catch bubbles in it when we rotate, because this would be a prime spot for catching bubbles. All of these knots of hair would be a really good place to catch bubbles. And we don't want to do that if we can avoid it. You can see I'm dripping all over the place. I knew that would happen. I also have to handle this mold. It's starting to gel, Let's turn this boy inside out. It is starting to gel. Here we go. I want to get this thing pressed down. I'm aligning the mold halves carefully, as carefully as I can, to get as invisible a parting line as I can. This material is quick cast, and it has already gelled. Now, that looks pretty good down in there. I think we have a winner. First coat done, and I hope that that will be the thing that's going to produce the bubble-free castings. I did not build a fancy cradle like you've seen me do in previous rotation videos. This is about as simple a way as you can attach a mold to the inner ring. And all I did was use these 4 wires. That's just all they are, just thin wire wrapped up. It's very, very simple way to attach a piece, and it holds it quite securely. This method is slow when it comes to mounting the mold into the cradle. It's a little bit fiddly and tedious, and if I was going to do, say, 50 of these or even 25 of these, no way I would use this method. I would build a dedicated cradle where you could just drop it in and out very quickly and cycle the mold faster. But I'm only going to do 1 or 2 castings here, and rather than take all that time to custom build a cradle, I just simply strung it with wires. As you can see, it is not going anywhere. It's perfectly securely held, but it is wobbling a little bit. One way you can lessen how much the thing wiggles around is by simply attaching rubber bands to it. So you can see, you can add as much support as you want, and rubber bands are quick and easy. But really and truly, this thing is going nowhere. It's fine. And if it jiggles a little bit, so what? The whole thing jiggles. It doesn't matter. It's just not going to affect the casting at all. Mixed up a 60 batch of resin. I think that's going to be a pretty light batch, but we'll know in a minute. I want to get this in here quick because this is quick cast and it goes. Definitely goes. Okay. We can just dump it. Now this is an experiment. A new type of closure that I'm testing out here. See if this is going to work. Don't know. Going to try. Let's see. Here we go. Run it. Hope it doesn't leak too much. Run it. Now the best thing about rotational molding on YouTube is half of my commenters will tell me I'm going too slow. The other half will tell me I'm going way too fast. Another third will tell me I need to do it with machines because you can't possibly make a good rotational casting by hand, even though I've made hundreds of them by hand. The truth of the matter is, the most important thing about rotational molding is random movement. You just want it to move around because what you're trying to do is coat the walls of the mold with just enough resin to coat the walls and to gel. It's all you're trying to accomplish. And you keep an eye on your witness cup, because your witness cup tells you what's going on down inside of the mold. It's barely moving, but it is still sagging. It's definitely still flowing. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this until it's ready to put in the 3rd shot. I'm really mixing this stuff up. This is going to be the heaviest shot. And I want to make sure that I coat the bottom half of the mold, which is right now a little bit starved. There's not quite enough resin down there. So let's make it so that there is. I cut this rubber to fit the bottom. So we'll put it on there so that it fits nicely, which it does. And that will make it much easier to locate the holes, the clamping holes. And I'm pleased with that, because that really sped up the process of attaching this base. All right, let's spin. Ooh, we are getting some leakage, aren't we here? We are getting a little bit of leakage. Good thing there's paper covering stuff, huh? I think that's just a function of the weight of the resin. I put a heavier shot in this time, and I want to make sure that it favored the bottom, which I am doing, favoring the shoulders. I can figure out where I want and see where I'm putting the bulk of the resin. And I'm being careful in this shot to really coat the bottom side of the mold. I'm favoring from the shoulders down. And of course, I'm checking my cup. It's still flowing quite a bit. And I'll just keep rocking and rolling until the resin is hard. All right, we can pull this off the machine. That'll be fun. Let's take a look at what the bottom's gonna look like. Let's peel this rubber off. Oh yeah, look at that. Ooh, nice hard flat bottom, excellent. We'll put this down and we'll take a look at our girl. Here we go, the first rotation out of this mold. Wonder how we did. Never know till you know. You just don't know until you know. Let's pop it apart. Oh yeah. Why aren't you popping? Because you're kind of sticking down there, huh? All right, I got you. There we go. Got a little bit of res stuck on the bottom. Popped it right off. Okay. That's not a big deal. A little bit of flash, wherever you'd expect it. Not a big deal. You gonna come out? Yeah. Okay, a little bit of leakage, so there's gonna be some flash there. I can already see that. Oof, I'm seeing bubbles in the back of the head, that's for sure. I guess I didn't pre-paint that back of that hair very well. And boy, this stuff does just come rolling off. Okay. Holy moly. The head, the face, I think came out really nice. What do you think? You getting a nice look at that? Boy, I tell you what. Okay, we got a tiny little bubble. That's a funny place for a bubble, right at the nose, but that will sand out. The flaws under the chin are in the print. Those are print flaws. The eye is not as terrible as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, there's some chunkies missing in there, but it's not terrible. And the worst place that we caught bubbles is exactly where you would kind of expect them. The bad news is there's a lot of bubbles. The good news is those are going to be pretty easy to fix because they're all in the hair. And I think that the reason I got those bubbles was that I didn't paint as carefully close to the seam. I was much more careful painting, around the side. And boy, I'll tell you what, all of that just came out just clean, no bubbles. Big advantage to a glove mold, no parting line. Look at that. The whole thing, she is just as clean as can be. All right, we got a pretty good hollow casting. Now let's see if we can't use this same mold to pour this girl solid. But we have no pressure pot because we have no pressure pot that will fit into. And we're going to start exactly the same way we started with the rotational mold. The exact same way, only this time I'm going to try to get down to these edges better. Let's see if we can't speed this along a little. Now the reason I'm wearing gloves, because you know me, I don't like to wear gloves because I never get resin on my hands, but I'm going to get resin on my hands here. That is for sure, because I'm going to make a mess. Because I got to go fast, because this is fast cast, and I don't have a lot of time to get this thing pre-painted. I'm going to make sure we get it into every detail. It's okay if it gels, just don't want it to harden solid. Let's flip this over and turn this inside out. And this is where I'm going to get resin on my hands. Just turning this thing inside out. Just like that. Let's get her popped into the front of the mold. Let's get the mold put together. Now we are going to have some flash. We just are. That's okay. It's okay, we'll clean it off later. Get it put together and get it pushed together nice. Nice, that fell together just really well. Beautiful. Okay, looking good. Okay, she is ready to assemble. Gloves can come off. They did their job. And let's just fold up this mess. Done. Now, next thing is to assemble this with these bolts. So I'll come through here and get these things all bolted up. And then I'll show you the next step. Hopefully we defeated the need for a pressure pot by pre-painting this girl, but now we have to fill it. And here's our problem. How are we gonna prop this thing up to hold it, to fill it? Because it's gotta be level or more or less level. So the way I approach that problem is I built this handy dandy little cradle device. And I think it sits in here like something like this. Give me some screws. Okay, got all the holes. Screw it into its little cradle. I'm having to come in at kind of an angle here. My drill isn't loving. Okay, now she's attached to her cradle. And this is the genius that is me. This is pretty funky dunky and pretty wobbly. And you might say, well, that's kind of lame because how do you know it's level and how come this isn't, this is hardly a piece of fine furniture, right? But here's the deal. All you care about is this level surface, which is the bottom of the sculpture. You don't care if this is wobbly. You don't care if the world is flat. You don't care about any of that stuff. What you care about is this being level. So what you do is you put a stick across there. That's pretty level. And then you put a level on it. And wow, actually, that's not bad. Okay, let's mix some resin and let's pour it. Mixed up 500 grams of resin. I have no idea if that's gonna get us there, but we'll come close. And if not, we'll top it. Can always top it off. And man, this quick cast, it gets hot fast, boy. Quick and dirty, let's pour it, it's hot, woo. Okay, we got her poured up to the shoulders. Nice. Quick, mixed up another 400 batch. May have too much now, but that's okay. This stuff just goes off like lightning. Here we go. Gotta admit, I'm pretty good at guesstimating. Hey, you see the bubbles? See the foaming that's in there? All that foaming is exactly what the pressure pot is designed to prevent. All right, here you can see why we love our pressure pot. Oh, look at all those bubbles in there. That's why we use a pressure pot. The resin is new, but the dyes are older, and even the dyes can introduce moisture into your mix. All right, let's see how this casting comes out. When you're in production and you've got to do something 100 times or 50 times or something, boy, I tell you what, seconds count. And you set up everything to be as quick and easy as you can make it be. Let's get my beautiful, magnificent cradle out of the way. See if we have a big bloody mess on our hands or if we got something worth having. Too bad it's not cold in the shop because that is most pleasant. That is hot, 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 hot. Drum roll, please. Wow, that mold is hot. That mold is hot. Out she comes. Out she comes. Party. Okay, let's take a look. All right, face is clean, man. Face is clean. Flash is not terrible. It's minimal. Really interested to see the hair. Oh, I got the bubbles. I caught a couple of bubbles, but really, I did a better bubble job back in here, a little more thorough job. I'm going to rate this as entirely usable. See in there under her neck, see all those bubbles? But the thing is, if you look under the chin, you see the artifact of the printing. So in every case, no matter what, this whole area would require some repair. This is not a lost casting because an area like that is fixable. If the face wasn't clean, and the face is really clean and really nice, and I think her hair, generally speaking, came out really nice. So, you know, if you're gonna lose parts of a casting, you wanna lose, you wanna lose the parts that are easy to fix. You don't want to be losing. That's why, of course, I put the seam up the back and up where it matters the least and is the easiest to fix. You never, ever put a seam up the middle of a face. I've seen guys do that. I've seen guys run the parting line right in the middle of the face. Are you out of your minds? What is wrong with you? Don't be doing that. All right, very nice. Not bad. Okay, we've got a hollow cast and we've got a solid cast, but we're not done. We're going to do one more casting out of this mold. And that's because Tiffany is a candle maker, and she would like to see whether or not this mold will even make a candle. Of course, I'm sure it will. So what I did was I laid in a supply of soy wax, and let's get it to melting. I don't have candle making equipment. What I have is this fantastically high-tech system, very, very advanced system for melting wax. I have absolutely no idea how much this cavity will take. It seems like I got way more wax than I need, but the last time I poured a candle, I was shocked how much wax melts down when it's in kind of a powder form like this. So I got plenty. I made sure I had plenty on hand. We'll start with that. All right, let's get this wax to melt, and we can get to pouring. Got the wax all melted, and now laid in some liquid candle pigments because Tiffany requested a color, and the color she requested was lavender. Never used this stuff, brand new to me. I'm gonna shake it up. Don't know if I'm supposed to, but let's drop some pigment in there. I have no idea how powerful this stuff is, so I'm just gonna put a few drops in. See what kind of color that gives us. Now, I'm assuming that the color is going to change quite radically. One thing's nice, there's not a bubble in sight in this liquid, and that is good. When in doubt, add more. Make it a nice, rich color. It's all just guesswork. Okay, now, I'm really worried about bubbles down in that hair. I'm going to see if it would help to just blow a little hot air down in there to warm the inside of the mold. The problem with warming a mold like this is there's no way for me to warm it evenly, and that means that what I'm risking here is opening up the parting line a little more. Again, I am not a candle maker, so I don't have a lot of experience with this. I say we just go ahead and pour this kid. There we go. All right, here we go. Wow, that poured okay. Whew. I poured okay. Well, we poured it. We're ready to go. I guess we'll just sit and let this thing cool. It's pretty level. Pull it out, see what we got. It's been 24 hours. I came in this morning and oh boy, this is not looking good. Lots of shrinky cracky. I don't know what this crackly business is. Oh well, let's yank this kid out. Here we go. I have very low faith. I mean, it's given up. Chips are falling out of the bottom. This stuff looks brittle. It looks fractured. It looks like a mess. Okay, let's see what we have to see for ourselves here. See if we got a good casting of all these things notwithstanding. No, we did not. Look at that. Okay, interesting. Okay, first of all, this stuff is incredibly granular, and it shrinks incredibly. Look at that. Look at the consistency of the wax in there. So it really fell apart. Let's take a look at the face. All right. The face cast nice. Obviously, there was just a tremendous amount of shrinkage in this kind of wax. So that's problem number one. Problem number 2 is caught some massive bubbles in the ears, which you should not have done. We got a tremendous amount of bubbles here. Got to admit, this is the most spectacular failing in a casting that we've had on the channel to date. And I'm going to blame the materials, frankly. Clearly not going to work for casting. Or I made some mistake that I'm unaware of. I thought I followed all of the procedures for casting a wax candle. I'm very much inclined to blame the wax, and that we would need a different formula of wax. I know that candle makers have their own formulas and they experiment with them and they get their own combination of waxes that works with them. It's actually quite lovely in wax, and it would make a nice candle once you solve the technical problems of the right formula of wax, the right temperatures, the right procedures, all that good stuff. I see no reason why you couldn't get perfectly acceptable castings out of this mold. Hey, if you like this video, hit that like button. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week.